Hi, I'm Tom Cronin. I refinish furniture, modify furniture, and make it better.
My name is Sandy Cronin, and I repurpose and redesign furniture. I do a lot of the design aspect of it. He does a lot of the construction or the reconstruction of it. We work together to redesign pieces, and then I typically do the refinishing, although he does a lot of the refinishing too now.
We source a lot of our materials from the side of the road, as we like to call it, roadkill.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, find stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
Estate sales.
Estate sales.
Yard sales.
Yard sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of yard sales as well. We also get stuff from friends, relatives that no longer want a piece of furniture. So
there's a lot of people out there trying to do good for the world and make sure that the beautiful pieces that these folks that have saved for years doesn't end up in a landfill, and they contact businesses like ours. We try really hard to only work with pieces that are solid wood. The quality of what's old and what we use compared to what's new and we could do over but we avoid is astronomical. The things that we use that we find on the side of the road are built to last. And our customers seek us out, and they look for pieces that have been refinished. They love the backstory behind it. They love to know that it's an antique. They like to know that it's been dated. We bring it back to life. We might need to put some new wood with it, but we try to keep as much of the older components of it as possible. We're not exhausting resources outside of where we get it from to recreate it. And if we do have to use new materials to do it, we use as little as possible.
Right, we reuse a lot of, we have a big scrap pile of wood that we use. If something, we take apart a piece and we don't use something, we may use it on another piece. So there's sustainability there. Plus, we're not cutting trees down, we're not contributing to deforestation. So that, saves the planet. We get our inspiration from Pinterest. Pinterest is the main source of inspiration. When Sandy does a consultation, she tells the customers what?
I tell my customers to open a Pinterest account if they haven't already. And that they should look for a similar piece to what they have. A lot of times I'll have a client come in and say, I inherited my mother's hutch. I really want to keep it because it has so much sentimental value, but it doesn't work in the vibe of my house. Can you help me? And so my first suggestion to them is to go on Pinterest, to consider it to be the best parts of a magazine you might buy. But you can literally zero in on what it is. So if, for example, it's a hutch, start to look at hutches that have been refinished and redone and save them. And eventually you're going to notice that you always pick the one that's seafoam green with wood. You always pick the one that's white with gold hardware. And that's how you get to begin to understand, especially if you're not a visual person, if you don't have the ability to see what it might look like in the future when it's done over, it helps them to narrow in on what they want me to do to their old and vintage pieces. It definitely helps us a lot. Yeah.
And, I also go on Pinterest on how to build things. Like I built a snowflake. And it tells you, the right angles to cut the wood, how to assemble it, just step by step.
Different designs to it also, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's a huge resource for us, for sure. It definitely is. Repurposing furniture for me, I mentioned before, I find it to be therapeutic. I find that when life is too much and stress is going on and I am drowning in bad news reports and things like that, I go to my workshop and I work and I make things and I can process what's going on in my brain while I'm physically actively sanding or painting. It definitely allows me to share my creativity I think you get to share your creativity too. I mean, people really truly come looking for what we do because they're tired of buying junk.
And the other thing too is I get complete satisfaction of from start to finish, the finished product. You know, you have a vision in your head of what it should be look like, and then when it's done, you know, it just makes you proud.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Really
It does. I really enjoy that.
We have been a wasteful world for so long, and I feel like at this stage of the game, we have a new generation of people that are stepping up and saying, I don't want to contribute to that anymore. And that's why they shop at our store, and that's why they want to keep their grandmother's hutches. So I think it's important to point out to our younger generations of people how important it is to keep those sentimental pieces that you may have inherited from your mom or your grandmother or your grandfather or things like that. And just because it looks dated and old and like something you don't want in your house in the condition that it's in, the act of repurposing it, the act of refinishing it, the act of changing out hardware, it keeps it from a landfill.
And they don't make things like they used to.
They really don't.
They don't. Craftsmanship is not what it used to be. You know? I mean, back in the day, you know, in the 1800s, they did everything by hand. There was no machines to build furniture. Everything was handmade.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's something that we're bringing back and keeping alive, because it's almost like a lost art or a dying art.
Right, right.
You know, it is like an art.
A couple of years ago, we had Tom's daughter here, and she worked with us to refinish the dresser, and it was your dresser,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And she refinished her own dresser. And now she came at Christmas time, and she was talking to us about she wants to build a bar cart. So it's rolling forward, it's paying forward.
Right.
And she's got a little bit of a skill behind her now that she can use.
And, you know, by doing this, you know, depending on your children or, you know, other people around you, it's kind of contagious. They want to do what you're doing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then by them doing that, they're keeping other furniture that you didn't get to out of a landfill. And it's just the circular economy.
It all started on Pinterest.